Welcome to BookHuddle. I'm your host, Karen Reader with Readgab. Today, our guest is Kimberly Newton Fusco. She wrote just this treasure of a book. It is called The Secret of Honeycake. It was recommended to me by Shannon Balloon from Middle Grade Matters podcast. And so when Kimberly reached out to me, I was like, oh, absolutely, because Shannon just loved it so much, and I listened to it and loved it as well. I can't wait to start talking about it. But first, of course, I always like to introduce our guest. So, Kimberly, tell us a little bit about yourself in addition to being an author.
Yes, well, I live in Rhode Island, which is really truly the ocean state. And I grew up in Massachusetts, and you will probably hear my Boston accent from time to time. I love hiking and backpacking, and we love to hike the White Mountains in New Hampshire. And so far, we have hiked 15 of the 4,000 footers. And I have four grown children, and we all go hiking together. And we have a big backpacking trip planned for a couple of weeks when we're going to hike two more 4,000 footers. So, and I also love to run. I've been running for 25 years. So it's a wonderful way to get those writing juices flowing, I think.
Excellent. What do you have to stop and put a little note on your phone? Because once you think of it, right, well, you've got that
I
idea.
do. I do. So so now I mostly run, I try to run a couple miles a day on my treadmill, but
There you go.
in the past I was a real road runner and I would carry a little notebook and pencil with me so that I
Nice.
could jot
Just
down ideas.
even something
Yeah,
small, because you can't
yeah,
lose that idea.
right, right, you cannot.
That's right. All right, beautiful. I love hiking too. And I've never been to New Hampshire. I've been to a lot of the 50 states, but I have never been to New Hampshire and I'd like to. So I'll have to figure out a reason to go there soon.
Well, the White Mountains are tough, so
All
be
right.
prepared.
I'll wait on that until I'm a little more up for that. That will be my reason to pace myself and get ready for it. All right. Well, we like to do an author icebreaker. And so today I'm going to do Ink Cart, which is by Cornelia Funke. And in the book, the characters are drawn magically into a book. So, Kimberly, what is a book that you would just love to be pulled right into and experience the book firsthand for yourself?
What a great question. Harriet the Spy. I have loved that since I was a kid. I would give just about anything to ride that dumbwaiter up the apartment building and be able to spy on people like Harriet could. Um, Many of the writers I know just love that book and say it's responsible for them wanting to become a writer. So.
Oh, that is beautiful. Oh, love Harriet the Spy. So I want to just give a little shout out for Kimberly before we get talking about the most recent book. Tell us the name of the book that won the Snyder Family Book Award.
Yeah, that was Tending to Grace. And
And this was your debut novel.
it was my debut novel, yeah. And it was an Own Voices novel. It's about a girl who stutters. And I had quite a pronounced stutter when I was a child. So a lot of the things that happen in the book happened to me. And it seemed to get a lot of love. So.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I didn't realize that that was the reason. I'll have to check that out. I have somebody dear to me with a stutter.
Mm.
We're here today to specifically talk about your newest, which is The Secret of Honeycake. And it's so endearing. I love it so much. Can you give us a brief, what is The Secret of Honeycake about?
Yes. It's a warm-hearted coming-of-age novel about a quiet but very spirited girl named Hurricane who lives in her beloved cottage along the mighty Atlantic right on the coast. And she's forced to move to a grand house in the city with her very demanding and forthright great aunt Claire and a wise and loving chauffeur who bakes like a dream,
Yeah.
and a wonderful fish peddler boy who named Theo. And it's also about a cat.
Yes. Oh, I love that sweet cat. I can tell you're an animal person because we've got a couple dogs in there, the bird and the cat. And
I
I,
am, yeah.
this cat, right, is just, it is not interested for a long time. On the cover, you see it and it looks just so sweet and personable, but it did not start that way. And I remember being there. I rescued a cat that this guy in a Facebook community when I lived in Virginia a few years ago, he was like, I got this cat off Facebook, and I'm not even supposed to have a cat in my apartment. And I didn't know she's pregnant, and she just had two kittens. And so he's like, I can't find anywhere willing to take her. Only a kill shelter will take them. And so, will anybody take her? And so, and the kittens are just days old. And so, different people were like, I'll just take the kittens. I'll just take the kittens. And I was like, no, these kittens need their mama. They are just days old. I mean, yeah, you can save a kitten if it doesn't have a mama, but they have a mama. And so, we were planning on getting a cat anyways. And I told my husband, honey, I just want to experience kittens. We're always going to fix our cats. And so, what if we do, these little tiny kittens and then we'll rehome two of the cats? And like the mom, just I think it had been abused, it had been rehomed multiple times, so she would never even let us pick her up. And so it was very, very gradual. Like she wasn't as extreme as this moon pie cat that she would hiss and scratch and everything, but she would run away and hide. And it just started with I would reach down and I would pick her up. And I wouldn't even pick her all the way up and I'd set her back down. And it was very, very gradual like that. It took me months, but now I can pick her up and walk around with her, and she comes and jumps and sits on my lap. And the kids keep saying, I want to be able to pick Bodica up. And I'm like, do it like I did. And none of them want to take the time. Like it takes patience. And Hurricane, I feel like that's a big thing for her is having to learn this patience and learning to grow with the other members of this family through patience to get to the ends that they want.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, the Moon Pie is the name of the cat, and it's a long, slow haul to get her to come around. And but eventually she does, and kind of it's the same thing that happens with Hurricane as well. So I got a lot of help on cats like that from a website, Scaredy Cats in Australia. They have, a huge problem with wild and feral cats, and there's a lot of work going on to try to save them. And so they've got all kinds of advice and everything, but it is a long, slow haul. And actually, we brought a dog like that into our lives.
Yes.
A dog that had been abandoned and showed up as a puppy
Mhm.
at our house, and the vet thought that the dog would not survive and would certainly never grow.
Right.
But given enough love over the years, that dog just grew, beyond our wildest dreams. So with enough love, anything is possible, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The cat makes me think of this phrase that you use in both Chasing Augustus and in The Secret of Honeycake.
Mhm.
You call him a true blue friend. And for both of the main characters, it's the animal. And so, why is it important for a child to have a true blue friend, whether it be an animal or a human?
Yeah. Boy, it's like a soul friend, somebody you can tell your deepest heart to.
Yeah.
I know it was very important to me as a child to have a true blue friend. And I think that Hurricane has had trouble making friends, and it's not until she actually gets to Aunt Claire's house that she has the possibility that that she's able to do that. So yeah, true blue friend. it's somebody you can tell your heart to, somebody you can just open your soul and also have a wonderful time with and learn new things and do
Yes.
go to exciting places. And really, they open new worlds for you, I think.
Right. Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm going to share a quote from the end of the book, but I'm not going to say exactly who it's about so that we don't give spoilers, but I loved these words you used so much. We're two pieces of a puzzle that fit together because we are different. And so it can be like with friends that we can be so different from each other that it can be relationships can be established with people that we would never expect. But a puzzle doesn't fit together with all of the pieces looking the exact same. And I thought that was such a beautiful analogy that you had there.
Well, thank you. I was so excited when I thought of that.
Right? Don't you
I'm,
just have those moments that you're like, yes,
I do, and I actually hop around the house a little bit.
you're good.
Um,
You
yeah.
should. That is a moment to be celebrated because I thought it was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It should,
Yeah.
it should be
Um,
written on walls.
thank you. Yeah. Um, so it's kind of nice to have a true blue friend that's not a carbon copy of you.
Right.
That can take somebody who can take you to new places. And that's what happens with Theo. And I had a friend in elementary school who was my complete opposite, and I absolutely adored her.
Right.
We really were two pieces of a puzzle. She was the youngest of four children, and she was wild and free and didn't have a lot of supervision and was outgoing. And, I looked at her and thought, wow, I would like to be a little bit more like you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think happens, that our world expands with a wonderful friend.
Yes. And doesn't it? And you didn't say, I'm going to be just like you. You said, I want to be a little bit like you because you still want to be you, right? You still
Right.
want to be who you are. And maybe she wants a little bit of that sometimes too. And so we can share our different strengths with each other and appreciate what's different and maybe, grow just a little bit together in similar ways. Because
Yeah. And that's what happens with Hurricane, I think, in the book. She does not want, she is an introvert. She's one of the quiet ones. The book starts out, the first sentence is, one thing you don't know about me yet is I am very quiet. And, but she likes that side of herself, and she doesn't understand why everybody wants her to talk all the time. And they do, teachers and her aunt and, the people in town, everybody wants her to be talking all the time. And she doesn't like it. And when she is, because as when she's quiet, that's when she can hear the things the world is trying to tell her.
yes.
Like she can hear the great herring gull asking her to race, in the morning, and she can hear the way that the sun sighs as it slips into the ocean at night, and all these things. She's got this slightly supernatural way of looking at the world,
Right. Like
especially
the
when she
stone lions and
yeah, especially it comes out especially when she's running along the mighty Atlantic by her home. And so,
yeah, and alone does not mean lonely, right? Because
right.
she has Brody Bear and she has her sister Bronte and while she's lost her parents, I don't get the impression in the beginning that she's lonely because it's later when she talks about this true blue friend and this Theo, it almost feels like she didn't know that she was missing it because she wasn't sitting there wallowing in sad loneliness, right? But sometimes you don't know what you're missing, and life can get even better when you have another friend in addition to your pet friend or sister. And whatever.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, friends are very important. But
Yeah.
also, you're exactly right. She is just fine. Thank you very much with who she is. Yes, yeah.
Yes. And at the same time, there's nothing wrong with growing. You know what I mean? So she talks at it's a big thing that in the beginning, it's okay to be the quiet one. When you're the quiet one, being forced to talk is the worst, right? You don't want to be forced to talk. And it goes on and it talks about her attributes a lot. Attributes is a really, really big thing. We're going to get back to attributes, but I want to talk more about her quietness. I had another quote. Oh, I know the value of silence. I know what it feels like to be alone, but you don't have to be. And so somebody says that, I think somebody else is saying that to her, right? Is somebody saying to her, I know what it is to be alone, but you don't have to be. And I think she's kind of like, well, I don't always have a problem with being alone because she says, I know the value of silence. And oh, I think I know. I think she might have been saying that to the cat. um, but then later, without giving many spoilers, I'm just going to share this. She can be quiet when she wants to be, and she can speak up when she wants to. Because in the beginning of the book, she absolutely can't. She expects her sister Bronte to always be the one to speak for her, and Bronte knows what she's thinking. And so, but something happens with Bronte that Bronte's not able to be there for her. And so she learns, I don't have to stay in the same box forever. I am the one in charge. I get to decide. She gets to decide when to be loud and when to be quiet. And that's an important thing for quiet people or loud people to embrace because aren't there kids that are just known for being the loud kid that I think sometimes at least in books when we get to hear behind the scenes that they're like, I'm tired of always having to be the loud one. Whatever you are, you get to choose and choose how often you do that.
Yeah, exactly. Introversion is, I think we're just learning so much more today about introverted children and the amazing things they have to offer the world. I think they're easily underestimated.
Right.
And so often they have this whole universe inside of them just waiting to come out. And, you know, uh, Hurricane grows up in a time post World War One. She's in a one-room schoolhouse with a teacher who just doesn't get it. She
Right.
doesn't get it at all. And she, wants Hurricane to stand and recite, and she wants her to, be more outgoing like some of the popular girls. So there's a lot of pressure on her, on Hurricane, to be different.
Right.
And what she really wants is to be herself.
Yes. And she should be able to. Absolutely. And I think it is the same for so many people. And sometimes I feel like it's self-inflicted that people feel like they're expected to be different when really they're misinterpreting nowadays. And sometimes it's not. Like there are people putting expectations on them, telling them to be different and be better, and those people need to back off because we want to help them learn and to grow in such a way like Hurricane did, that she's like, I'm allowed to be quiet. And I've learned to use this voice of mine too. And I was kind of like that. I was pretty quiet. I had some friends growing up, but I was by far from popular. I was not the popular person, but I I learned to comfortably get loud. But there are still times when people will be like, "Do you want to go to this together?" And I will have to force myself to get up and go because I'm like, I just want to be alone right now and read a book. And crowds really make me uncomfortable. Like I like all the individuals, but I want them one at a time. Or if I'm speaking to a crowd, I'm more comfortable because I'm not really dealing with them because I'm the speaker. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to deal with them all at
Right.
like their responses because I am like if I'm the presenter or something and it's not such of a situation where their responses are appropriate in that moment. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I
Like
do. I
I
know.
I'm an introvert and I forget what it's called because I'm able to be loud and talk and stuff, but
Mhm.
I'm a certain type of introvert because I want to be alone and in my shell at the same time.
Right. Right. Yeah, I was a pretty high introvert, and which is where my writing came from, you know. I was a child with quite a pronounced stutter, and I turned to books, and I saw, I found these amazing, strong characters in books, and I wanted to be just like them. And then I started writing, and suddenly I was able to communicate with the world, and teachers noticed, and there was no stopping me after that. But today, I speak like, who knew that was going to happen to me?
Right?
I travel the country. I've spoken to I went on the Scholastic Book Fair's author tour, and spoke to rooms of 400 kids. And I went to Lawrence, South Carolina, which was pretty exciting. They had Tending to Grace as their one book, one community,
Oh, neat.
book. And I went into their gymnasium, and they had 750 kids come in. And then I spoke and they left, and then another 750 came in and I spoke to them. And then 350 teachers, staff, and parents that night or later in the day. And so who knows what we're capable of.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah.
You never knew as a child.
Never knew. I had no idea. All I knew was that I wanted to be a writer more than anything.
And it got to change on your terms, right? Just like for Hurricane, it was
Right,
your terms. Nobody forced you into that room when you weren't ready,
right,
or
right.
else it wouldn't have worked. Would you have been able to speak if you weren't ready then?
No, I would never go out for the debate club or
Right,
the drama club. I would never run for office. I was never one of those kids.
right.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
So, Hurricane, I lost her name for a second. It's on my shirt. I'm wearing a hurricane shirt. Hurricane, she in the beginning is all about the attributes. Like you said, it's one of the first things she says. She's quiet, that's one of her attributes. And throughout the book, she's sharing her attributes and other people's attributes are one of the good things about this person. This is one of the best things about them. Why do you feel it is important for kids to be aware of their attributes?
Because I think it gives, it helps to know who we are, right? It's very important to Hurricane to know who she is, but also how she can change, Yeah, our attributes are not cast in stone.
No.
We change and evolve over our lives, and that's what happens with Hurricane. So it's a very exciting process for her. So one of the big things in the book is she journals, and her mother gave her a notebook to write down everything she sees. And she also uses it to begin to write down her attributes. And those attributes change over the course of the book.
Well, and I like very much that journaling doesn't have to be one way, right? And she uses that book in many different ways. And she says when somebody else sees it, well, this is private, and it points out different people respecting the privacy of it. But it's not one type of writing that she uses it for. She uses it whatever she needs it to be.
Mhm.
And you have in Chasing Augustus as well a girl is handed a journal and does not meet it with quite the same excitement that Hurricane did. And
Yeah.
maybe it was because of the person or the situation. Or I don't know, maybe you always write sad stories about people with sad families. But
No, no, they're secretly happy families.
but why why else? Tell us more about journaling. Why did you want, are there other books that have journals in your writing? Or is it specifically Honeycake and Augustus?
So journaling is, it's really important to Hurricane to be able to get her ideas out and to get her ideas down. One of the themes of the book is writing and art and self-expression.
Yes.
And the amazing things that can happen to somebody when they pick up a pen and begin to write. And I think the book is a whole like cheerleader book of
Yes.
the power of writing.
Yes. Well, and I like so much. I believe it's chapter 59, if I noted it right. And it was so beautiful to listen to. It's a wonderful audio. She talks about because the ocean is so important to her, right? And so she's talking about the tides. And she's talking about slack tides specifically, which is something I know nothing about. But it says it's not just a waiting. Like, I'm guessing it's not just waiting for the tide to come in. Is that what we're saying? It's not just a waiting. Okay. It's not just a waiting, it's a becoming. If you really think about it, you could become anything at slack tide. You could become anything.
Mhm.
You could even fly. Slack tide is when you're limitless.
Mhm.
Do you feel that we really are limitless?
I do. I really do. I think we have so much potential, so much unlocked potential. And I think that children do. Wow. I love the stories of the studies that show that young children, they all think of themselves as these profound artists. You ask a child in elementary school, can you draw? Yeah, I'm a great artist. And
Yes.
then by the time they're, seniors in high school, they no longer think about
No.
themselves that way. And so what has happened, And it's comparison,
Yes.
and hearing things that aren't so great and all the things that can start to chip away at that potential. But my editor has been trying to get me to include poetry in my books for a long time. And this is the first time I did. So there are three poems in the book. Um, there's ebb tide, and there's slack tide, and there's flow tide. And slack tide is when, the tide just kind of stops and is waiting for
Okay.
high tide to come in. And, I thought it was a great metaphor for how, um, that pause in life where we can take a deep breath and, decide what's next. It's really, that poem in particular is all about potential.
Nice. I love
Mhm.
it so much. And a while back, I talked to Lauren Wolk about this, about, you know, creators, wherever kind of creator they can be, and people limit themselves because somewhere it is established that this is good art and the sky is blue, a cow looks like this, and da 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 da. And so they've lost that joy in writing because she said the same thing. I can ask little kids who likes to draw, and almost everybody raises their hand. And as the older it goes, less and less, and she doesn't even ask by the time she goes speak to high schoolers because nobody's like, I like to like
Yeah.
hardly anybody raises their hand. And I think it's because they feel limited in their potential that it's been established it should look like this, it should be like this, whatever, again, that creation might be. It doesn't even have to be art. And so the potential's still there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And it doesn't have to be something that's going to be hung up or at a baking display show, to win first prize. Be a creator, rise to your potential for joy. And I feel like that Hurricane does that and that Theo does that, that they're seeking like their potential in a joyous way. And I love it.
Yeah. And in the last poem, she's a flow tide when
Mhm.
high tide is roaring in,
Yes,
and she's like, taking off the mask and all the colors to her. She takes off that mask because she's stepping out into who she wants to be.
that's
So,
neat.
and some really brave things happen after that last poem.
Right? I love it.
She speaks up. Yeah,
Yesterday is over. Do brave deeds and endure. There's another one
yeah,
of your beautiful
yeah.
quotes. Yes, because it is brave of her and she feels so meek and people have talked her down and she has started becoming and just
Mm,
growing and
mm.
it's I think it makes a beautiful this would make a beautiful like you were mentioning a community, one school, one book, one school, one community. It would just be a beautiful one because of all of this becoming and joy. I love it. It's a very sweet
Thank
story.
you. Thank you. Wow, that's thrilling for me to hear. Thank you.
Could you share with us what is next for you? What is in the works?
Yes, so I've been talking to my editor about the next book. I
Mhm.
have a few ideas. What I do is I kind of write, pages of stream of consciousness type of writing, and so that's where I am now. I've got actually 4 or 5 different ideas that I'm working on. And so what happens, I'll do, work on one day and another one. And what I'm looking for is that energy that I feel that's going to carry me through a whole book.
Nice.
So, sometimes you get an idea and it goes for 20, 30 pages and then kind of ends. And so I'm looking for the fire. So,
Waiting for that to start. Have you
yeah.
ever done or thought about doing a companion story to one of your stories? Because you do standalones, right?
Yeah,
But have you
yeah,
ever thought about maybe doing a companion where like maybe we see Theo and a story of what's going on in life for Theo or somebody?
yeah. My editor and I have actually been talking about that, so we'll see.
Because I
Yeah,
would love it. It would be so
I
great.
I am so fortunate that I have had the same editor all along.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is so
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. We
Sounds
met
like you guys
at
have a good relationship.
we do. We met at an SCBWI
Mhm.
conference, and so I gave her 10 pages of a book,
Yes.
and she said, "Wow." But she's she said, you know, this is a plot-driven novel and Knopf only publishes literary novels, and she was looking for something voice-driven. And so
Okay.
I went home and I threw that out and I sat wondering, what in the world am I going to write about? And I thought, why don't I try to write a book about a girl who stutters? And I did. I wrote for the next year, and she called me up and bought the book. So the first time I've ever sent anything out, she and I are very close. Another thing is perseverance.
Yes.
One of the big themes of The Secret of Honeycake is perseverance.
Yes.
Yes.
More
And
person than one.
yeah, yes. Aunt Claire, who is Hurricane's very demanding and forthright aunt, who loves to use Latin sayings to bolster Hurricane and get her to buck up.
Yes. Which is
One
just
of
what
her
Hurricane needed right when she got there, right?
I know. One of Aunt Claire's favorites is Perseverance Conquers,
Yeah.
which in Latin is pronounced Persevere Antia
Mhm.
Vincit. Of course, Hurricane hates it.
Yes,
Um,
she does.
but perseverance is also really a personal theme of this book because it took almost 7 years to write.
Wow.
I wrote 5 complete manuscripts over that time. And on the 5th one, when my editor finally said, "This is it," she wanted 3 more revisions. So it was really a labor of love for both of us. She calls this the book of her heart. And
It
I think
is.
for
Oh, it is just such a cherished one. I'm sure it was so hard to go through it, but you got it. Oh, you
uh,
got it.
thank you. I think authors need to have a sort of relentlessness on the inside that says, "I refuse to quit because I have something to say."
Yes.
So, yeah.
I love that. That is so fun that that happens sometimes, that it feels like you're an anomaly, but I think it must just happen sometimes that you connect with the editor and then boom, you didn't like go through tons of slush piles and she just saw that in you. And that's beautiful and wonderful.
Yeah, she always says that voice is what's most important to her, and plot can be changed, but when she reads voice that takes her breath away, she buys the book. So,
Oh, that is neat. That is so neat. Can you share a children's book that you can recommend for us that took your breath away, that was something that had a big impact on you that you just loved?
yes. So over the pandemic, I reread all of Kate DiCamillo's novels.
Oh,
And
yay.
so many of them, it would have been the second or third time that I read them. And I just love her writing. She can capture voice like nobody else.
Yes.
And, her prose is so tight and so crisp. It's just stunning. And so my favorite Kate DiCamillo book is Louisiana's Way Home.
Do you know what? I've read so many Kate DeMille books, and last time somebody said one that I hadn't read, that whoever it was, now I can't think of who recommended one, and this is another one I haven't read. She's just so many. Tell me about it. Luisa's Way
Yeah.
Home?
Louisiana's Way Home.
Louisiana's Way Home.
Yeah, and it's about Louisiana Elefante and her crazy grandmother. And there's a curse in it, and they take a road trip, and it's just a beautiful coming of age story about a 12-year-old girl. So, and the voice is just spot on.
Nice.
So, yeah. And a lot of times, what I'll do if I uh, read a book that I just love and the voice is so strong, I'll get the audio too so that I can listen. Because it's very important to me to read the book, but to have the audio so that I can hear that voice. It kind of goes into my heart,
Right,
in a
that's what I'm
different
thinking.
way.
When you can really feel it. That
Yeah.
there are some books that I definitely connect to and feel when I read the printed words, but
Yeah.
there are some books that it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I listened to this.
Yeah. Yeah. The audiobooks are a beautiful thing, aren't they? Mm.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes it's the reason that you go back and do a second or third, you just want to experience it another way. Because now that I've experienced The Secret of Honeycake as audio, I want to go back and feel it reading the printed word and just have those two different experiences because they can be unique and it can enhance the experience one way or the other in different wonderful ways.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's thrilling.
Absolutely. Hey, Kimberly, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Well, thank you so much. It was so thrilling for me, and I appreciate all you do. I've really enjoyed your podcast, so thank you.
I hope that you enjoyed hearing about the secret of honey cake. If you enjoy my podcast, BookHuddle, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a second and rate and review BookHuddle on your podcast platform. That really helps more people to be able to find BookHuddle. Now go and have a fantastic week and read some amazing books.